Welcome back to My Trauma's Chronic, but I'm iconic. This is the second part of the episode with Chief Superintendent Jeff Boothe. If you haven't watched part one, it's linked down below. And welcome to part two. So, why is it crucial to establish accountability measures within the police to ensure public trust and confidence?
I think based on historical experience is that without accountability, without regular follow-up, then there is a tendency to write policies and procedures, but the actual outcome that is required quite often is not delivered. So I think having the right accountability structures in place, providing the public, who are, for want of a better expression, who are the customers, because policing is about providing a service, you need to be able to find out if the service you're providing is actually delivering what it is that you've said that you were going to set out in the first place. So there needs to be accountability measures in place in order that, one, people can provide the feedback and that you can demonstrate that you're actually delivering on what you said you were going to do in the first place.
Can you elaborate on the role of body cameras in promoting transparency and accountability among law enforcement officers?
Yeah. So I think back to when body-worn cameras were originally being discussed. You had some officers who felt that it was like Big Brother was watching them, and they didn't feel comfortable. You had some members of the public who were uncertain and didn't believe that the introduction of body-worn cameras would improve their experiences with the police. So I think it's also important to understand the context within which body-worn cameras were introduced, because if you look at the areas of stop and search, stop and encounter, or vehicle stops, or any kind of interaction with the police, quite often, as there was a gradual erosion of the public's trust in police officers, quite often people were quite rightly putting in complaints, as they have the right to do. And more often than not, it was one person's word against the other. But with the introduction of body-worn cameras, statistically, and I can't give you the exact figures, but there has been a dramatic reduction in the numbers of complaints that have been made by the public, because quite often if somebody raises a concern, they are provided the opportunity to view the body-worn cameras, and quite often people's perceptions at the time, when they've reflected and seen the recording, isn't as they thought it was. So for officers, they are now more confident with the use of technology because it can demonstrate what happens. It provides more accurate information if they are looking to make a statement. But I'm sure you'll be aware that there's still some concerns around body-worn cameras, in the fact that it still requires the officers to remember to turn the cameras on when they're dealing with an encounter. And a key point to remember is as the officer's on patrol, the cameras are not on all the time. The officer has to remember to press the button when they are dealing with an encounter which they feel they should capture an accurate account. So there is still some more room for improvement. But if you look at within London and most major cities, you've got body-worn cameras, plus you've also got closed circuit TV. Most places have CCTV as well. I think the added bonus of the body-worn is that you can actually then hear what's being said at the same time. So it's not just the pictures, but you also got the actual conversation.
How can members of public oversight boards or communities contributing to holding police accountable for their actions?
Well, there are localized within London, each borough, there is an opportunity for the public to attend police encounter panels. And those are panels which are set up where if there is an incident, and quite often you'll see something on social media, there'll be a viral incident which will show a recording, normally from somebody's mobile phone, and it will give one context of an encounter, and the public then have the ability to ask through those engagement panels to view the body-worn video. And quite often, because the body-worn video provides a larger breadth of time and a wider context, because quite often a mobile phone can be just capturing one part of the story, but by seeing the whole incident unfold, listening to the account of the officer, providing the context behind their actions, quite often that can dispel any misconceptions, and the fact that people know that they can use these panels gives them further confidence that they can hold their police to account.
Are there any specific guidelines or protocols in place for conducting internal reviews of police conduct to maintain transparency?
Well, there is the Department for Professional Standards, where all officers are held accountable through the codes of ethics and codes of practice. And if at any point in time an officer is felt to have been in breach of those, then they are held accountable. Most recently, there's been an additional anti-corruption task force which has been set up to investigate police to also ensure there is that additional level of scrutiny. So officers are under a high level of scrutiny in terms of the work that they do. Plus there's the Independent Office of Police Conduct, which also looks at any instances where there is a felt that an independent investigation is required.
What are the potential challenges or obstacles that may arise when implementing mechanisms for transparency within the police?
I think in essence, it boils down to the public's trust in whatever mechanism, whatever system is put in place. So if trust is low, which it is in certain sections of the community, just by announcing that you're putting new measures in place, if that trust isn't there in the first place, it doesn't really make a difference what you tell the public you're doing, because it's the analogy, it's like asking someone to mark their own homework. So what you need are independent oversight boards, which is where the Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabularies for Policing and Fire and Rescue Service, their job, and also the Independent Office of Police Conduct, and also community reference groups. All of those bodies play an important part in being able to demonstrate that they are looking at the processes that the police have in place and that they are fit for purpose. And then through that, there is then a hope that the wider public will have the level of confidence that they should have, that things are being done in a manner that they would expect.
What steps can be taken to ensure that body camera footage is properly stored, accessed, and protected to maintain this transparency?
So I haven't, in my time, I haven't heard any concerns about the procedures, how the information is stored, because you are, by the use of the technology, it's clear, the systems are there, and it's very easy to audit and oversight. I think where the challenge is around officers following the procedures, officers turning on the cameras when they should do. I think that is at the front end where the concerns are. But the moment that the information is captured, officers are not able to alter, tamper, or do anything untoward, because there is a wider system that will record all activity. So even if a supervisor is going to review, all of that is automatically captured by the system. So once it's on the system, the integrity of the whole process is very, very high.
How can we encourage the police to prioritise diversity and inclusion in their recruitment and training practices?
I think there are many angles. There's one where you can turn around and say, what is the purpose of the police? Which is to provide a service to all sections of the community. Therefore, a common sense approach would be, if you're looking to provide a service to all sections of the community, you need a policing service that represents all sections of the community. Therefore, you should be increasing your efforts to be as diverse as possible. Then there's the other side of saying, if you are lacking in diversity of thought, understanding of cultures, understanding of views, then you are not effective as you can be. Therefore, if you want to be as effective as possible, again, you should be looking to have as much diversity as possible. Then if you look at it from an economic point of view, which is, if you are from an underrepresented group and you join an organization that doesn't value diversity, then it's highly likely that you're not going to remain within that organization. So if you consider all of the money that would have been spent in recruiting that person, training that person, getting them up to a certain skill level, and that person leaves within a short period of time, that is a wasted investment. So therefore, if you want to ensure that you are being as effective and efficient in terms of your budget management and your amount of investment, then it makes sense that you invest in diversity, because you will be able to not only retain, but you'll also be able to increase the volumes of people that are going to want to join and thereby be more effective.
So how can we create this a safe space for open dialogue between police and communities where there are underrepresented minorities to address the concerns and bridge the gap?
Well, some of that is already happening through localized community reference groups who come along on a regular basis that speak with departments. For example, I lead on attraction, which is trying to get more people from underrepresented groups. We meet on a monthly basis with a vast array of young people, academics, people in the business world, community leaders, to talk about what we're doing and how we can improve our efforts. And that's just one part of it. But the wider impact is around increased discussion. So you and I are having a discussion here and now, but if we do that more widely, breaking down misconceptions, being able to demonstrate that we're listening, being able to demonstrate that we're prepared to do things differently. And I think over time, people will start to see the difference, and then it starts to gather a momentum where people will hopefully have a different view of policing in general, and might generate an interest where they start to think, yeah, I would like to be part of this change which is taking place.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on our conversation, what do you think is the most important takeaway or message you want for the people listening to remember?
I think it's important to, whatever anybody's view of policing is, whether or not it's good, bad, or indifferent, I think we've got a collective responsibility to work together to continually improve the policing service, because it's a service that everybody should look to utilize. We hope in general that the majority of people don't have to engage with the police because something hasn't gone wrong. Because quite often within policing, you're dealing with people who are vulnerable or where something's gone wrong and they're needing help and support. So on the whole, you kind of hope that they wouldn't have to. But we want to improve policing, we need people to be involved. And so what I would say is, if people have got a negative view, please to engage, because only by engaging, only by having ongoing dialogue can we look to improve the overall service that is provided for them.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion. I'm hoping it's maybe dispelled some myths that people may have. I hope it also reinforces that there is an understanding on my behalf that policing has got a long way to go. It's not perfect by any means, but also hopefully it allows people to know that there are many people within the service that do want to improve things, are disappointed when they see officers doing things that they shouldn't do. But I think the key thing is to say thank you, and hopefully it will make a difference to people that listen to the conversation that we've had.
Thank you so much. Are there any upcoming projects, events, or resources you'd like to share with the people listening? And what ways can they find you or connect with you to stay updated on your work?
Well, you can go on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn personally. In terms of the work that my teams are doing, I would encourage people to go on to the MPS Metropolitan Police Service website. Look up for anything under the subject of outreach or the London Police Race Action Plan. We will be looking to do a formal launch of that action plan at some point in March. But in the meantime, if you go onto our website, there is ample information about localized events that we are running.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
It was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
You have a good day too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So throughout this episode, we've explored the crucial topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion in policing, as well as the disparities, promoting understanding and building trust between police and the communities, especially in underrepresented parts of the community. To promote diversity and racial equality in your community, you can start by educating yourself and others about the experiences and challenges faced by marginalised communities. Engage in conversations, attend community events, and support organisations working towards equality. It's also important to actively listen to the voices and concerns of those affected by racial disparities and amplify their stories. Building trust and understanding between police and communities of underrepresented people open up dialogue and collaboration. Reach out to your local police branch and see how you can get involved. Advocate for policies and practices that prioritize transparency, accountability, and unbiased decision making. Remember, change starts at the individual level, but it takes collective effort to create lasting impact. By working together, we can build safer, more inclusive communities where everybody feels respected and valued. So let's continue this conversation, engage with our local police branches, and advocate for positive change. And once again, we'd like to thank Chief Superintendent Jeff Boothe. Anyway, guys, I'll see you soon. But until then, stay safe and stay iconic.